season 1, so I just got another season, and then after that, Lab Rats. And so far, I haven't heard many good reviews about Lab Rats Elite Force. Saving the People Who Save the People was a decent start to a decent show. Pranks for Nothing, honestly don't remember. Smoliver's Travels. Probably just don't remember them because the names are just so basic. It's Not the End of the World was an episode where Kaz cheats on his homework and because he's not smart, but he was smart when he cheated on his homework, causes the world to end. And it's because of this guy having a terrible expression where when he says something's not the end of the world, it actually means it is the end of the world. But he did it anyway just because Kaz told him to, even though he knows it's the end of the world. I didn't really get that episode. I don't remember Kaz dates a superhero. Alan's Reign of Terror. Pretty sure this episode where Oliver is like, hey, people bully Alan too much. He doesn't deserve it. I'm gonna let Horace treat him with more respect, and then Alan becomes a supervillain for a little bit. So you think you could be a sidekick. Now, one thing before I forget is literally in the next episode, Alan teams up with Kaz and Oliver and says, I don't think I've ever done a team up before. I don't like it. And literally the whole point of episode 11 was that he did a team up with someone else. And then he breaks up that team to go do a team up with someone else. But in lockdown, he does a team up. He's like, well, I've never done a team up before. I don't like it. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Night of the Living Nightmare, Mighty Mad. Copycats. There we go. There's one. There's two little douchebags that are supposed to be like this big deal, but they aren't. They keep hinting at them being a big deal and about how powerful they were when they were combined, and that's why Horace took the pendant so they couldn't get to full power and blah 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 blah. But then in the final episode, they have like two scenes that are very short, and then they lose very fast. They try and convince Alan that they're actually on his side, and then he's like, well, that's too much work. And he throws the pendant in this reactor, so it's gone for good, I guess. But yeah, in this episode, they pretend to be Kaz, almost get Kaz cubed, and doesn't really do anything. And I guess they never tried it again. Guitar Superhero, free Wi-Fi. Are you afraid of the shark? There we go, that's one I kind of remember. We find out Horace has a shark. They end up making him go loose, and he turns into like this human-like shark. They don't get in trouble because apparently Horace has been trying to do that for years. Alan gets mad about that, and he somehow keeps his job. That's about it. Oh, actually, there's a joke about how he hates bridges. Throughout the show, he loves bridges like the actual thing. It's like one of his character traits. For the first few episodes, they do it way too much, if I'm remembering it correctly. But anyways, there's this girl that's his boss that's named Bridges. And he says, I hate bridges. It's more of a subtle joke, but that's really the only thing that I remember from that episode. Two writers make it wrong. Pretty sure that's the episode where Kaz gets a pen and he writes stuff and it comes real. And they actually have been using that to save superheroes for a long time. Gus gets it, and then he has to take it from Gus. And then so on and so on. This show is really only a funny show. The action sucks. There isn't much plot to it. The action isn't terrible, but it's not good. And I actually remember what the guitar one is about now. Whatever that one was. The guitar one is the one where some random rock star has like this certain treatment that she does for her skin or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it has like radioactive stuff in it, and her guitar gets electrocuted or something while she's holding it, so she gets superpowers. And the person that plays her is the person that plays Jesse in the show Jesse. It's really why I only remember that episode, because there wasn't much to it. The pen is mightier than the sword. That might actually be the pen one, since it literally has pen in the name. It's a storm coming. We find out that Skylar will die if she doesn't get her powers back. And I forgot to even put it on images. Find out Skylar will die if she doesn't get her powers back, right? And they're like, oh, her arms might explode and she'll die by Thursday. Yet on Wednesday, Horace says that on Wednesday her head will blow up. So wouldn't she be dead then? I get that on her planet they say that, heads can regrow back and blah, blah, blah. But she doesn't have superpowers anymore. That's like the whole reason she's about to lose her limbs. So her head blowing up, she's dead. And they also have this not so funny joke that they keep repeating. That candy on her planet is called diarrhea. I don't like that joke. It's just not funny. It's just simple toilet humor. And then they have one episode where they do something that's actually became more of a recent problem. Where idiot guys on social media think that you can't have a friendship with a woman without dating her. And Oliver, of all people, is the one that makes that saying in this show. There's this evil guy that's trying to kill Skylar, but he doesn't know that yet. He just assumes that he's trying to become her friend to date her. And Oliver just straight up says, guys don't be friends with girls unless they have a crush on them. It's not like a sexist joke, because they kind of just used it for a dumb joke to make it, like, oh shit, Oliver accidentally revealed he has a crush on her. But it has become more of a sexist thing nowadays, so a bit of a poorly aged thing. And then they have an episode where they bring back this guy from like the 1950s, and all they really do with him is have him say stuff about how he doesn't like equal rights, and then that he likes flat screen TVs. Like, what was the point of him? But yeah, the show ends with a cliffhanger of Skylar getting her powers back, but oh no, the bad guy actually made her powers evil now, and now she works for him, I mean. And then she says her classic catchphrase, but she says it evilly. It was kind of corny. But yeah, it's a pretty decent show if you like good jokes every now and then. My favorite joke in this season was when Oliver gets the same brain as Kaz. That's what the copy Kaz, I think, might have been. I'm pretty sure, no, that was the Wallace and Clyde episode. But there's an episode where Oliver tells the guy to make his brain be like Kaz's because he's mad that he's like on the bottom of a chart besides Alan of best doctor or whatever. And he wants to be more like Kaz since Kaz is number one. And he gets some superhero to give him the same brain as Kaz. And he later makes a joke in the episode where he picks up a tongue depressor, scribbles like a sad face on it, and he makes a joke about it being a depressed tongue depressor and how it doesn't like going into strangers' mouths. And the delivery was funny, but that was the funniest joke in the season, and that's really all there is for this show, is occasionally there'll be really funny jokes. There's not too much plot, and the action isn't the best. When there is action, it lasts very briefly. Lab Rats never had the best action either, but it was still way better than Mighty Med. But this still is a really good show. And I have a video on my watch later that I want to watch called The Downfall of Mighty Med. It's like 3 hours long. After I finish both 2 seasons of Mighty Med, and after I finish the Lab Rats Elite Force. But yeah, that's about it for this show.